Welcome to Fresh Humanitarian Perspectives, the podcast brought to you by the Humanitarian Leadership Academy.
Humanitarians, we know we did lots of digital transformation and we failed at most of it, in my opinion, and that's because we didn't ask the right questions to the right people.
Ethical AI is not really technology discussion, it's a power discussion, I would call it. Who designed the system, whose data is used, whose perspective are represented.
It's very important to invest in cultures, in the transformation, to see the end user perspective, because that's one of the main advantages coming with AI and AI agents and all those different tools, to try to imagine things, think differently and see how we could leverage them to support those colleagues on the ground who are supporting the communities that we are serving.
I'm Carmen Parkinson, Communications Lead at the HLA, and for the past year, together with Data Friendly Space, we've been leading the first global study mapping how humanitarians are using AI in their work. Welcome to the second instalment of a two-part conversation on humanitarian AI. In part one, I sat down with Madigan Johnson from Data Friendly Space to take stock of what our year of research and convening tells us is urgently needed as the sector navigates ethical and responsible approaches to AI amidst deep sectoral change and challenges. As Madigan reflected later on LinkedIn, we're grappling with the question, how do you build responsible AI when the money's gone and the ground keeps moving under your feet? Today's episode deepens and contextualises this conversation. It's a candid discussion on the promise, potential and pitfalls of AI during this era of the humanitarian reset from the perspective of three humanitarians. I'm delighted to speak to Musaab Alhadi, Nour Arab and Ali Al-Mokdad, who've been an integral part of this research and convening journey. They bring perspectives from Sudan, Lebanon and across the globe, of living through and supporting communities during immense challenges and crises, through conflict and displacement. If we want to stress test humanitarian AI applications and concepts, this is the lens through which we must consider genuine needs and use cases. Musaab, Ali and Nour each return to the same point. AI must support local leaders and the communities we serve. Hi, Nour, Musaab and Ali. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's so nice to have this time to speak to the three of you, especially as we've had such close collaboration over the last few months and longer than that actually, on humanitarian AI in terms of convening our webinars, podcasts, and your support for broader initiatives. So it's so great to regroup and have a chat about how things are looking from your perspective in this area in 2026 and looking ahead to the second half of the year. So to kick us off, for listeners who are new to our work, would you like to briefly introduce yourself and your interest and background in AI in humanitarian work? So let's start with you, please, Nour.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nour. I worked across communication, community engagement, and emergency response globally. I've been exploring and using AI for the last 2.5 years, and I found myself naturally developing a skill of coaching AI to organizations and people, and I do this right now.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Nour. So let's bring you in now, Musaab. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. My name is Musaab Alhadi, and I currently work in Sudan, supporting humanitarian programming. with a particular focus on locally led response, partnership, and group cash transfer approaches. Like many humanitarians, my relationship with AI has evolved quite quickly over the last couple of years. Initially, I was curious about its potential to help with drafting, analysis, learning, and knowledge management. Today, I use AI regularly in my work, whether for brainstorming, reviewing documents, developing training materials, or helping structure complex ideas. At the same time, working in an active humanitarian response has made me very aware of both the opportunities and the limitation of these tools. AI can support decision making, but it cannot replace contextual understanding, community relationships, or human judgment. That's where most of my interest lies, how we can use AI responsibly while keeping humanitarian principle and local realities at the center.
Thank you so much, Musaab. You've been doing some incredible work with local responders, haven't you? With your group cash transfer work and also AI capacity strengthening training alongside that. Also with Ali Al Mokdad as well. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today and hear more about your work. So let's come to you, Ali. Would you like to introduce yourself for those who are new to your work?
Yeah, of course. First, thank you for having me. My name is Ali Al Muqdad. I currently advise international and national organizations, NGOs, and social enterprise on organizational transformation and the optimization of their governance and processes. And among the things that I support organization with is AI integration and digital transformation, including the integration of digital solution like AI agents or large language models with their processes and workflows. I also have a couple of published research, including the inclusive and intelligent governance, and I have a bestseller book called Quantum Humanitarian.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ali. Just hearing actually, just all recap who you are and what you're about really made me think how there's a lot of convergence from what I know of you in your work and your approaches, but you do occupy different perspectives as well, different vantage points. So it'll be really interesting and useful to hear your take on developments in this discussion. So to get started, I'd like to talk to you broadly under the theme of operational realities. So through the research that the HLA has conducted with Data Friendly Space, through the convening, through the survey, through, and interviews like I've done with you, Nour, with practitioners, a key theme that came through, particularly from local leaders, is that AI systems must be developed to respond and adapt to operational realities, that they can't be removed from each other. So avoidance of a technology solution being imposed on a context without that contextual understanding. So I just thought it'd be really good to dig into that a little bit more from your perspectives and experiences, your rich experiences across the sector. So first of all, I'll come to you first, Ali. Could you share something about AI in your day-to-day context along this theme? For example, I'd be really interested to hear about when you've seen a time or experienced a disconnect between how systems are being shaped and how humanitarian work actually happens in practice.
So let me give you a fresh example, something I've been working on with one organization where we were trying to look at the challenges that they are facing from organizational psychology perspective, some of the issues and also possible ways to optimize their processes. So what we did, we used AI to go through so many layers of workflows, processes, policies, documents, building on the data that they have. And of course, when we did that, we found we found almost 700 documents, tons of templates and tools and multiple offline solutions that they had, but also because they have area, country, region, and headquarter level with multiple representation offices. So we use those AI agents and AI tools to scan all those documents, processes, identify workflows. And after identifying those workflows and looking at who's doing what based on their current situation, we managed to identify multiple, what I call organizational disorders, which means a gap between the communication field level and headquarter level, duplication and multiple responsibilities, multiple people stepping over each other responsibilities without even realizing. And we started finding other issues that is causing a gap in communication, collaboration, but also lack of opportunities to leverage speed or those agents. So after mapping all those workflows and identifying those issues, we started coming with AI solutions. And one of it was, for example, automated communication between setting something on the system at HQ and then taking it to field level, or identifying duplication in multiple roles and see how an AI agent can work on this text-based issues and multiple other things. But the challenge that we faced was, I would say, the transformation element, because AI helped us to go and organize this massive amount of data with different levels and different things that they are having. But then once we started applying those digital solutions, we found one, a capacity issue, and I will brand it as AI literacy issue. Two, there's the need at field level for offline solutions and lack of access to the cloud. And adding to that, we needed to try to do, let's say, presenting it from culture perspective, because, there is a bit of what I call more a panic, and there is a bit of lack of clarity, and not all the people are on board with having those solutions and all that. So we needed to step back and focus at that organizational transformation, offline solutions, site level realities, trying to see how we could work before we sync with the cloud, and work at the cultural element before even start deploying those tools. So what I'm trying to say here is that on the positive side and the opportunity side, it helped us to scan massive amount of data from around 10 years, identify multiple organizational disorders, bring solutions, work as an ally and as a tool to the leadership at headquarter level, regional level, and country level. But on, let's say, the challenging part was the rollout, offline solutions, try to introduce those culture elements. This is just a fresh example what I have seen at organizational and institutional level.
That's fascinating. I have so many questions, but I don't want to take up all the time. But I found it really interesting that you pointed first of all to the people aspect and culture, so organizational psychology, organizational disorders. I think probably that a lot of listeners will be nodding their heads and relate to that context. So thank you very much. So let's turn to you now, Musaab. Could you share any experiences where you've seen this sort of mismatch or disconnect between systems and people?
Yes, I have so much to say here. So, one thing I often notice in that many conversation about AI assume that information is reality, readily available, is structured and consistently updated. But humanitarian work rarely operate like that. Definitely, in Sudan, decision often have to be made with incomplete information, rapidly changing context, communication disruption, and significant access constraint. I remember working on humanitarian programming where displacement pattern changed within days. Communities moved, markets shifted, and security conditions evolved rapidly. In those situations, the most valuable information often comes from local responders, community leaders, volunteers, and partners who are physically present and consistently engage with communities. That is where I sometimes see a disconnect. AI systems are often built around data, but humanitarian responses also built around relationships, trust, and contextual interpretation. There have been many moments where I have thought, I wish the people designing these systems could spend one week in humanitarian field operation to see the realities. Not because that technology is wrong, definitely, but because they would quickly see that reality is much messier than any data set. A recommendation generated by AI um, uh, may look logical on a paper, definitely, but local actors may immediately recognize why it won't work in practice. For me, that highlights an important lesson. AI should support local decision making, not replace it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's such a vivid example because obviously you're working directly with local responders now. And so you see the issues day in, day out. You know the challenges and you know the workarounds and you know the cultural factors at play and the nuances that, like you say, in AI, it would not understand that. So that plea that people spend time actually when developing the systems to understand actually what is the situation like, then that can be that can help to shape the actual system design. So thank you very much for sharing that. So let's come to you now, Nour. Could you share any examples or perspectives of this sort of disconnect between systems and people?
I would actually like to add to what Ali and Musab were saying. Um, uh, when the solution comes from humanitarians, it's always a much better solution. That's why AI literacy is quite important. So when an outsider comes with AI expertise, let's say, to an organization, they would come with AI as a solution, while the problem is totally different and the solution to the problem is not AI. And I was approached recently by one local NGO. They say, Nour, we're sure you can help us a lot with AI. And I smiled and I said, no, I can help you. And then if AI is the answer, then I can be useful on this matter. So tell me about your problems first. And as an insider, as a humanitarian insider, I was able to ask the right questions and then identify what do they need by asking very simple things like what frustrates you in your work, what's repetitive, what makes you bored at work, what's something that you would like to do, and this I wouldn't touch when it comes to AI. Let me see your latest report. What system do you have? What's your data protection policy, etc.? And this is where the conversation flows very naturally from a humanitarian to another. And we start identifying the issues as we go. And as Ali was saying, like it's overwhelming what AI can do. It can come up with so many solutions for people because it does identify patterns and gaps so quickly. Maybe not humanly possible with the short contracts that we have. But it's always very important to understand where the NGO stands now when it comes to the use of AI and how much acceptance they would have in integrating these changes to their system. Personally, I start with the simple things and then I expand to the bigger scheme. And in time, people start to accept, integrate, and also come back with some troubleshooting, some problems that they faced, and then we will fix or simply let the whole agent go if necessary. Yeah, because again, the main issue here is to solve a problem, not to install another system. And as like humanitarians, we know we did lots of digital transformation and we failed at most of it, in my opinion, sorry. And that's because we didn't ask the right questions to the right people. and I'm not planning to do that anymore.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you for sharing. It's quite interesting because when you just said that, those closing words, Musaab and Ali both smiled and nodded their head. So that obviously really resonates. And
There's one thing I'd like to add, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, in one of the coaching sessions I had, one of the person I was talking to, he's a senior humanitarian, who was saying, like, I'm having this problem with my boss and I don't know how to explain what I do to her. And then I said, okay, let's do that with AI. So I had like 4 extremely complicated Excel sheets. Very, very good work he's doing there, but his manager didn't understand what he was doing. So we spoke together again, asking the right questions, like what's your objective, what you would like her to understand, etc. And then we came up with a platform that was so easy to understand. And yes, like with AI literacy, it doesn't just improve the system of the organization, but also the communication between departments that is sometimes or most of the time impossible.
Yes, again, that probably resonates with a lot of people listening. So what I'm hearing from the three of you really is in the start, if you look at this in a sort of flow chart, that it's people and conversations and communication that's foundational. That's the very first step. Whereas it can be so easy, and like you've alluded to, Noor, in the past when the system has been brought in, here we go, install that. And overwriting all of that stage, then that's where bypassing that's where the problems begin. So yeah, like I was saying, Ali talked about organizational psychology and transformation. Before you're talking about the actual technical solutions, you, Musaab, were talking about the cultural nuances and the understanding that a lot of data will be unstructured because of the nature of your work and the context that you're working. And Noor, obviously, you were talking just now about the same kind of themes. So that really kind of comes through to me. I just wanted to throw it back to you, whether any of you had briefly had any reflections to share on what's just emerged.
I have to admit and make a confession. I'm guilty. I have made so many mistakes before. When I led the rollout of ERP systems, when I led automation and Power Apps and Power BI's initiatives, when I established AI communities and super users and led governance of multiple, what the sector called business processes. And I have learned so many things from those failures. And one of the key things that I have learned is culture and the people in the organization. And going back to first principles, any conversation must start from first principles, especially when we are talking about design, rollout, development, maintenance, and all that. The second thing I want to say, and here I'm looking at roles, specific roles or workflows or processes. We have to keep in mind when we are talking about AI impact on positions, we have to distinguish between purpose and task. There is a huge difference. The project manager purpose is to oversee the project cycle management. But managing a budget, preparing a forecast, or preparing a plan or something like that, that's a task. So AI, from my perspective and what I have been doing, is not coming to the overall purpose. It's coming to the task. How that project manager is forecasting, or how that project manager doing the monitoring, or the planning, or the designing, or XYZ. So when I am talking with people about the impact of AI roles or those organizational workflows or something, I try always to distinguish between a purpose, like an overall purpose or goal and scope, and the task, because the integration that at this moment AI in humanitarian development is mainly that area, the tasks, how those leaders or people at different roles, they are doing those different tasks. It didn't impact the overall purpose until this moment. That's from my perspective and the experience working with different organizations.
Thank you. Purpose and task. I think it's hard for organizations to think about that sometimes, especially in the current context and all the changes of that generally beyond AI. So I think that having that framework is it's a useful one. So thank you so much. So I want to share thanks again to the three of you and our appreciation for your involvement to help shape the development of our ethical AI use and decision making in humanitarian work, micro-learning, developed together with Data Friendly Space as well. So I'm so excited to see that launched on Kaya. So many thanks again to the three of you for your rich contributions and feedback as well. So I wanted to ask you if you could briefly share one reflection or takeaway from what you saw, your involvement in that or that process, and then also more broadly, what do you think needs to be prioritized in terms of AI literacy in humanitarian work, or just more generally in the second half of 2026? So let's bring you in first, Musaab.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. As a humanitarian, one of my key takeaways from the ethical AI use and decision making in humanitarian work, micro learning was that ethical AI is not really technology discussion. It's a power discussion, I would call it. Who designed the system, whose data is used, whose perspective are represented, who benefits, and who carries the risks. Those are questions humanitarian organizations are already asking in localization discussions and agenda, and I think they apply equally to the AI. Looking ahead, I see as priorities to the second half of 2026. I believe one priority should be making AI literacy accessible to frontline humanitarian workers and local organization responders. Right now, there is a risk that AI conversation become concentrated among technical specialists and headquarter teams, while local actors remain consumer rather than contributors. If localization is important for humanitarian action, then local actors should also have a voice in shaping how AI is used within the humanitarian response. I also think we need to invest more in critical AI literacy, not teaching people to blindly trust AI, but teaching them how to question it, challenging it, identify bias, and understand its limitation, as Noor and Ali mentioned. Because responsible use is not about knowing what AI can do, it's about knowing what cannot do.
Well said. Well said, Musab. I was just reflecting recently how in our sort of immediate circle, we do naturally frame AI literacy and AI developments in that localization agenda, situate it clearly within there. But with outside of this sort of particular group or, people with this school of thought, shall we say, the sort of innovation agenda and the efficiency agenda may be more dominant. So I'm pleased that you've surfaced that here. And you've always spoken when we've had conversations about this, like at our HMPW session back in March, you really put it down to power, made that a central theme and question in the use of AI tools. So thank you very much for sharing. So Nour, let's bring you in. What's your take on this, on the ethical AI, microlearning and AI literacy in general?
So it was 20 minutes of knowledge. I don't call it microlearning course. I learned a lot myself from it. And I think it answers a question or like an observation we have in is that like AI is gonna make us lazy, or it's the shorter road to things. But when doing the training and going through the questions, you realize that when you use AI, you add more steps to what you do, and hence you spend more time doing what you do, but maybe differently. So it's the workflow is different. It could be broader, it could be based on, let's say, more research, more patterns, etc. But it's not necessarily a shorter way to do your tasks. In my experience, sometimes I spend much less time working because of AI, and in other times I'm working 10, 20 times more. And it really depends on what task it is, and the learning curve, of course. Um, Going back to my first point on like not making the same problem we have, the same mistake we made in digital transformation. I really do think that AI literacy is most important because the problem should be identified by the people, so by the humanitarians, by the people on the ground who know the context well, and are able to generate, let's say, better solutions. It could be a training on AI literacy. Okay, that's a bit too general. Maybe depending on like specific task or a specific department. Personally, I find it very useful to speak to my colleagues very informally about the challenges that they face every day and how AI can help them. So there's a lot of webinars out there and a lot of online trainings, and the trainings that are winning, I think, are the ones that tackle specific problems and expanding, to the different tasks that they do, for example, on communications or on finance or etc. That's what I think.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nour. I really enjoyed our conversation that we had last month, where we so your interview is available on our website, and I'll link it in the show notes, and where you made a very definitive, declarative statement that AI literacy for those who are on the ground is key. So you really do see that as a priority, particularly in line with the localization agenda, would you say?
Yes, definitely. And I'm in the advisory board of the Community Engagement Forum, and we're currently running a survey on if AI belongs, if it does belong to community engagement or not. And we've been receiving responses, very interesting responses so far. So we made it very open. We said, okay, so whatever you think of AI, if you use it, if you hate it, if you love it, just drop your opinions there. And it seems that, at least for the respondent, they're saying that they're already using AI and they need help in AI literacy trainings. Another finding that I saw is that, like, they want to include communities so much in what they're doing and letting them know how they're using AI in their work, but at the same time, they don't know how. So they're sharing interest, but also concerns, and asking for support on specific things. And I'd be more than happy to share the results at the end. Maybe, yeah, that would help you with your work.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think that experience that you had is replicated or sort of seen across the sector at large, where there is this recognition, AI is helping me, AI can, take off some of this pressure from me, but we kind of reached a bit of an impasse. There's a bit of stuckness now. How do we get to the next level and unlock that? So my aspiration is that this Kaya course, I'll call it course rather than microlearning module, is part of this new wave that I hope will emerge to help the sector get across the line. So we've moved from that, is AI okay? Can I use it, to the reality is we are using it. So how can we as a sector move forward responsibly and actually operationalize it in our work? So thank you very much for sharing your reflections there, Nour. So Ali, would you like to come in now and share your thoughts on the module and any reflections about AI literacy?
I think it's a good course, and I highly recommend those who are listening or watching to this later to go to Kaya and look into the other courses. There are so many around leadership, project management, finance management, supply chain. Like, I'm not sure if now there are over 500, but I don't think there is a topic that you can find a course or e-learning. If it's not hosted by Kaya, then it's another platform in collaboration with Kaya. There is one thing I want to say here, because when I design e-learnings or trainings, I always try to look at it from end user perspective. And I have to admit, one of the main opportunities that came with AI and AI applications is the way we think about e-learnings. And example here, it's something that I just completed recently with one organization. When we started designing from end user perspective, we looked at different ways of learning. And I'm just going to tell you how that e-learning looks like so that you could imagine different ways of doing e-learnings. Hopefully some decision makers will find that interesting or relevant. A user enter the platform, and that user, once they sign in, they will find three options. Option one, do you prefer learning through text and listening? Do you prefer learning through videos? Do you prefer learning through scenarios or practicing? And then the user would choose one of those three. So if the user clicked on the first one, which is listening and reading, AI agents in the background will tailor the e-learning content in the language that the end user wants to learn to appear as text and voice. And of course, they could control the voice, the speed, or those different things. And they could do the test and all that while they are learning. If the user picked a video, like learning through videos, AI agents will come in the background, put short text, and pick from the videos library. And the user will learn through the videos. If a user, and that was actually my favorite one, if the user picked scenarios or cases or something like that, then a screen will appear with multiple AI agents playing different roles in an organization, and then it's role play scenarios with the learner. And here it's all built based on specific content, but that content in a platform where that platform will tailor the way of learning depends on the end user way, like preferred way, language in the different ways. And here, why like the main reason why I'm mentioning this, because I think with AI we have opportunity to reimagine learnings. Because there are some people they like to read, others they like to listen, others they like to watch videos. This case, the user will have all those different options to learn about exactly the same topic, exactly the same material, but in their preferred way. And I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about something we literally just finished. This is number one. Number two, I think it's very important to recognize that AI literacy or AI learning, or they mean different things to different people. They mean different things at different levels. And I have to admit, when I talk about AI literacy and AI learning at operational level, they are already using the tools. They want an operational co-pilot. They want something that could match their speed and all that. When I talk about it at, let's say, headquarter or regional level, it's a bit more focused at governance, data analysis, and Power BI or Power Apps and all that. And when I do like AI literacy initiatives or projects for people who are outside the whole sector, it means different things for different people. It means something for a nurse, for a doctor, for a teacher, so I think it's very important to look at learning from the end user perspective. And it's very, very important to start leveraging those opportunities that they come with those AI tools and AI models.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that user journey, the emphasis on the user journey and personalized learning. Well, first of all, that's obviously a really exciting use case for AI and the use of AI agents for such a personalized and contextualized learning experience. So that's the future. And bit of a sort of plug for Kaya. Thank you for mentioning the courses. I didn't pay Ali to say that. That's not a paid commercial, but thank you. I know you're online super learner. You have been throughout your whole career. So, but we have got in the migration and upgrade, we've got the plug-in ability to sort of add AI agents in the future and other exciting opportunities. So yeah, maybe that is the direction that we go in, hopefully. But I think user journeys in general, I think if we go back to the development perspective, actually thinking rather than making these assumptions, this is what is needed, this is the solution, and like a top down, it's actually thinking about it from the user, from the organization, from the humanitarian's perspective. So I think that's a really good mental model to have in mind across the board. So Nour, did you want to come in and add something there?
Two things actually, very quick notes. So the first thing, I have a friend who's blind, and she was talking about like the limitations when it comes to the use of AI, and using those agents could really help in inclusive learning whenever possible. And yeah, I think this will help a lot. Another thing that I do, I'm a huge podcast lover, and I'm just listening to a podcast whenever I'm doing the mundane work. So I actually use Notebook LLM whenever I want to learn something, and I put different resources to generate a research and then start speaking as a podcast like participant, and then it comes back to me with a very normal conversation as if I'm speaking to a human being, and I start to learn things differently, and I'm really liking it. So this could be also one way of learning in the age of AI.
That's very innovative. I like that. You're making doing mundane tasks
scary,
a learning.
to be honest.
That's fantastic. I think Ali, did you have a podcast using LLM, Notebook LLM?
I think it was a bit integration of multiple APIs and different tools, and that was like more than a year ago. But it's so interesting how it went through all the things I have published online and some of the published research that I have from 2013 to 2025. And then it generated 30 episodes of conversations around those different topics. And, that also opened my eye around the learning concept. And I just want to mention something about those AI agents. I had a case where I did an e-learning as a participant. I started like doing the modules, and I asked AI to observe what I am doing, the layout of the e-learning, how I'm responding, so that also it could anticipate different reactions from different users. And, some people ask me why I picked the scenarios, the videos, the text, and the audio, because that's how I like to learn. Sometimes a video, sometimes an audio, sometimes. So I really think I like what Nour mentioned about inclusive learning. That's a step toward inclusive learning from my perspective and my experience.
Fantastic. Oh, it's very exciting, the future of humanitarian learning and in all forms. So yeah, thank you. So what a fantastic conversation, and we'll have to organize a follow-up at some point because there's so many things I want to dig in deeper with you all. But we unfortunately will have to wrap things up. But yeah, I just want to thank the three of you again sincerely for everything, all of your contributions, having this dialogue on an ongoing basis, and all of that feedback along the way. So I truly appreciate it. So yes, on behalf of the HLA and Data Friendly Space, thank you. So would you like to share any final thoughts or message to our listeners? Let's start with you, please, Musaab.
Yeah, actually, it's that we're closing this conversation, but my message would be simple. AI should make humanitarian action more human, not less. The technology will continue to evolve, but our responsibility remains the same. Listening to communities, respecting local knowledge, local actors, and making decisions that put people first. The most effective humanitarian responses of the future will not be those with the most advanced technology at all. They will be those that combine technology with local leadership, human judgment, and genuine accountability to the people we serve.
Thank you so much, Musaab. Well said. How about you, Ali? Any final words to share?
It's something I usually say, technology is not the problem, transformation is. And to be a bit action-oriented in that, it's very important to invest in cultures, in the transformation, to see the end-user perspective, to not focus only at the models, but how it will be rolled out and designed and all those different stages, and take the opportunity to think differently, because that's one of the main advantages coming with AI and AI agents and all those different tools, to try to imagine things, think differently, and see how we could leverage them to support those colleagues on the ground who are supporting the communities that we are serving.
Thank you, Ali. And you know?
So if you asked me this question a year ago, I would say start, using AI somewhere. But now with a lot of people already engaged with AI, I would say, keep the people who know the problem and know the work, do AI solutions, and do not import people from outside to do it for you. Whenever it's possible, train your teams, individuals, community members to do the work, and you'll see a lot of your problems solved.
Thank you very much. Wise words to close on there. Thank you. So Nour Arab, Musaab Alhadi, and Ali Al Mokdad, thank you very much for joining us for today's episode of Fresh Humanitarian Perspectives from the Humanitarian Leadership Academy.
Thank you so
much.